Wow, just like that. Hey everybody, how you doing? Once again, it's just me. Hopefully, Dan will be joining us in March after he works out and gets all right and ready and start the new year with us in March. But in the meantime, we're going to be talking about some good old PCH pre-code horror books and golden age books in general. These two guys have become slowly a fan favorite, especially in the nursing home community. No pun intended. The people of Prairie Meadows love these guys because they talk about books that they had as kids, and these two guys, it's a passion for them. Beyond, if you've ever seen their live shows on Instagram, man oh man. But here we go. Let me first bring in my co-host. It was a struggle to find a guy who collects PCH books, but this guy collects it. His name is Matt. Look at this guy.
Hi.
Yeah. Hey everybody. Hey. What's going on there, Matt?
Not much.
Not much. Good. That's good,
Yeah.
Matt.
So you know.
All right. Next, we're gonna bring in. There he is. I see Jason fixing his hair, which is kind of funny because he doesn't have any. Here's Jason right here. Look at that. Jason, Crime City Comics.
I'd like to say that I've been using Rogaine, and I feel like it's working. I mean,
Do you?
I do. I'm told my hairline looks better, but when you look at it here,
no, it's not. It's bullshit.
It's
then we have James. Right, James? He's been using Rogaine for the past 12 years, and if it hasn't been working now.
Well, my palms are hairy, is the thing.
Oh, that's nice.
He's getting hairy in all the wrong places, I guess. Yeah, that's right.
Yes. Hey, Abby, how you doing? Thank you guys for joining us from Prairie Meadows. So, Matt, to give you a little bit of content, we have a nursing home who watches the show every Tuesday night. So they all gather in the commissary, and they all they have one moderator there, and she interprets for them, and all that stuff.
Where's it located, Caesar?
In Texas.
In Texas, whereabouts?
In Texas. I always forgot. Abby, can you tell us where in Texas again? I thought it was Prairie Meadows, but it's not. It's in Flower or some
Flower Mound
stuff. Something like that.
I lived in Fort Worth for a while. I was curious.
Yeah, they'll let us know. But they watch every single time. So whenever it comes to the PCH Golden Age books, they all perk up from their seats. They start dancing a jig because they're like, I remember that book. Right? And what the joke is, Matt, you don't know this, but they're saving a seat for me.
Floresville.
There you go, James.
Where is it?
Floresville.
Floresville. I have not
passed
through
familiar with that. Is that North Texas, Central, South?
I have no idea because Texas is the size of Russia, so I don't have the size.
That's accurate.
You ain't lying.
That's accurate.
I knew for the very first time when I was younger, I knew Texas was big when I had a layover in El Paso just to get to San Antonio. So it was like
there's a time change between Dallas and El Paso. That's pretty funny. I like El Paso. That's an interesting city.
But this is always a fun night because I love talking about history, and this is one of the reasons why I collect Silver Age, because of the history behind this. But if we think there's history in Silver Age, boy oh boy, the history that we get in pre-code and Golden Age, anything 1952, right?
56 is the end of it. 55 is the end of it.
55, really.
Golden Age, technically, but pre-code, before the comic book code went into effect. Yeah, that's a little earlier.
There you go, James. It's south of San Antonio.
Oh, all right. Well, so down there, one part.
I used to live there.
Yeah. So let's do this. So for those who are joining the show for the first time and are just getting into this hobby, first of all, I give you the sign of the cross because good luck getting into this hobby right now because it's an interesting hobby to get into. It's very fun. It can be very expensive. It could be very frustrating. It could also be very how do I put it in the proper circles, toxic. It's
That's probably true.
it's who you surround yourself with, right? It's the old adage of what your parents used to say. You know, always surround yourself with those good friends. It's true. It's who you run with, because if you run with a good crowd and they support each other and they're like, "Hey, James, I found that book you've been looking for," and you're like, "Oh, great." That's the shit you want to be in,
Yep.
not the other ones who are like, "Oh, I found that book James wants, and now I'm going to sell it to him for more than what I paid for." So it's that BS. Um, so that being said, for those who don't know what's going on, this is for these some young men who did the show.
Oh, you guys are young men.
Yes,
There you go.
We're young now.
yeah. So let's I'm going to defer to you, James. Can you, in a nutshell, describe what is considered PCH, and then give us a quick lining of the Senate hearings?
So PCH, first of all, what does it stand for? Is pre-code horror. But we're not just talking about horror, we're talking about pre-code in general. So what does it mean by pre-code? When the Comic Book Code Authority came into place, all the comic books you saw after 1954 had that little stamp in the upper right-hand corner. I think Jason's showing one right there. And so anything that has a 10-cent price tag and it does not have that stamp is good chance it's going to be pre-code. And why is pre-code important? After that Comic Book Code Authority took over, they had some very specific regulations. Like you couldn't use words like fear or haunted. You couldn't have skulls on the cover. You couldn't have a woman in bondage or in distress.
Yes.
You couldn't have anything like crazy animals like this. Very interesting. So all the fun comics, right? Which I consider fun. They were all banned. And what I mean by banned is now all the publishers, what they would do is they would submit whatever book they had coming along, and they would send it to the czar, for lack of a better term, of the Comic Book Code Authority. He would review it and decide whether they're allowed to publish it or not. Is it too racy? Were there too many suggestive pictures of women? Was there anything in reference to black magic or voodoo, or anything questionable to the traditional puritanical type of society? Was there anything that was against the made the police department look bad? So people talk mainly about the pre-code horror books, but crime was the one that they were mainly concerned about. When I say they, I mean Dr. Wortham in particular, and then all the people that kind of followed his doctrine. And in a nutshell, Caesar, what he said was that these crime comic books, as he called them, were really just manuals to teach kids how to become criminals. And he went as far as to say that even Hitler was an amateur. This is a direct quote from him. Hitler was an amateur
That's
when
right.
it came to propaganda and affecting and influencing young lives and young minds. And he was very adamant about it, which is unusual because he did so many other great things for the community as a whole, as far as mental health is concerned. But when it came to comic books, he went straight off the deep end. And a lot of the things that he talked about and testified about were later discovered to not be 100% accurate. And some of the data was even discovered to be false. So it's just unusual for somebody of his stature.
He had tunnel vision. I think he had a real mat on for these kind of books. He had it in his head that this was kind of the cause of much juvenile delinquency. But it was more than that. How we got to pre-code, or how we got the comics code, because it really was a political issue, right, James?
Part of it. So people will talk about SOTY books and kind of lump it all together. Oh, that's a SOTY book. Well, just to clarify, SOTY just means it was used in the Seduction of the Innocent, the book Seduction of the Innocent, published by Dr. Wortham. But it became very political, and it became a really nice thing for politicians to grab onto, because you had a large section of the United States, suburban mothers, for example, who got these articles and saw these articles in Reader's Digest and some of these big publications that showed that their children were being influenced. And then there was actually documentaries like Confidential Stories, which is kind of like a 2020 that we would see today or something like that, an expose. And it would show kids sneaking away, right? They're sneaking away and they're reading their comic books, and they're coming up with devious ideas, and they're doing all kinds of criminal behavior just because it was convincing argument, because you had some people that had great credentials talking about it. So you had somebody like Senator Kefauver from Tennessee, who grabbed onto this and made it part of his platform, and he was running for president of the United States.
You can
And so,
imagine how that
yeah.
plays. Even
Very, very nice.
just choose your favorite opportunist politician, and they would do the same thing, and they
Yeah.
did, because it's not the only time that happened, right? I mean, it happened with video games. It happened
picks-
with Hard Rock.
He would just
Yep,
he'd hold
heavy
up
metal.
he'd hold up something like this, Kefauver, and he'd say, is this suitable for your children? Look at this. Will this give your children nightmares? Let alone that many of these harder, for lack of a better term, comics were read by GIs, and not
Mhm.
quite as that was like the main audience. But he would scare the shit out of parents, suburban mothers, and the concept was simple. And here was the hook that he set very skillfully, and what I mean by he is Dr. Wortham, and others just kind of followed along. But the hook that he set was this: you think you know what your kids are doing, but you don't. What they're really doing is this. And he brings out the comics and he shows kids stabbing each other and tying each other up and doing all this kind of crazy shit. So that was the hook. That was the hook. And then the politicians just kind of ran with that.
The thing, especially back in the early 50s, where people of power were extremely influential, right? Back in the day when if it's on TV, it must be true.
Right. There
100%,
wasn't
exactly right.
fake news. There was
They believed it.
the one media stream, which was TV and radio, where
Right.
it.
So when you have senators, when you have psychologists and all that saying, this is what's going to happen to your son, this will happen to your daughter if you continue. Well, let's all gather everyone around and start burning books, because that's what they were doing, right? They were burning these books
Right.
because they were
Right.
they were corrupting the young mind. Now it makes sense as collectors why these books are so valuable, because how many of these books were destroyed? How many of them were hidden by the parents, and the parents completely forgot about them? That's why you find them in attics, inside walls, or in drawers, or whatever it is. There's that mystique of, oh my God, to find this book in such a high grade at white pages from 1952, it's like finding gold.
Someone
Awesome.
loved
Right.
it, right, and protected it.
So, now that's the point. That's the point. Someone loved and protected that book so much. James, he got so scared.
When you stood up to grab that book, and the internet broke.
Yeah,
Yeah,
There you
there
go.
you go.
Sorry, somebody was trying to call me.
it censored you.
Now, the thing is, I know, James, you're going to show something. Might as well just show it now. Go ahead. What do you got?
Sure. All right. Well, you're just talking about a high grade. So these books, like Caesar's talking about, were meant to be disposable, right? They were put together on paper that was not meant to last. And here's an example. This is a 9.0, and it's a file copy of Black Cat Mysteries. And just look at the colors. And that's this is a book from the early 50s.
Are you sure that's not 2025? Because it sure looks like that to me.
This is Jason's one of his favorites. Mine's
I
new.
love this book.
Let's
Take a moment for a second. Let's just go back in time, and Lee Elias, the artist on this book, really put together a masterpiece. There's no doubt that there's a man that is enjoying pyromania. I mean, look at that.
Obviously.
He's in the middle of
that is pleasure.
Yeah, he's in the middle
Yeah,
of an
he's covered in
oil
oil,
field.
right?
Correct.
Yeah.
He's literally standing in oil down here.
Yeah.
He's soaked in oil. The flames are all around him, and within seconds, he's going to be
Mhm.
he's going to be bursting into
And-
flames himself.
and laughing all the way to hell. Now, this is the
And-
funny thing. Look at this. This is a great comment. We were playing Cowboys and Indians or Cops and Robbers when we were children.
Yep.
We didn't get the ideas to beat the crap out of each other from comics. We
Exactly.
got it from TV and movies.
Yeah.
And of course, you're not going to ban TV and movies because now we're talking about actors and we're
Well,
talking about influential people. So
there was pre-code movies too. I mean, Hollywood
That's
did do a crackdown, but not. I mean,
not to
this
that
was
extreme.
a whole different animal.
Now,
Yeah.
we were talking about, so as everyone saw, James is holding up a book from the early 1950s and the 9.0. For many of you guys know, by now, if you're fans of the show, you guys know about slab books and the ratings and all that stuff. To have a book from the early 50s graded at a 9.0, you can't even fucking find modern books graded at a 9.0. To have a book like that, that means whoever owned that book, and Jason was alluding to it, they loved that book and they took care of that book. They read page by page and just carefully just closed it and stored it nicely. They didn't roll it up in their back pocket. They didn't toss it on their bed when they came home from school. They didn't let their friends borrow it and then they borrowed it. They didn't go overseas, during the Korean War. It was very well taken care of.
And I think there's a lot of foresight because I don't know that people thought the way we do now as collectors then, where, I'm going to put this, there weren't bags and boards for comics.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
That's
right.
They
was
didn't think like that.
around. Now, you know what, Jason? Never fucking thought about that. These books were flopping around. So for that to have a 9.0, James, that means there's minimum spine ticks.
Yeah, and it went from the store. First of all, the publisher delivering it to the store, and they weren't treating them like we would treat books today.
No,
and then it's on a rack, and then it's on a rack that's spinning, and people are picking through the rack. Right. If you see some of the photos from the 50s of the newsstands, the books are all in the open, in the elements, and they're blowing around and such. It's amazing.
And not only that, but they would deliver them sort of in a binder, right?
Correct. Just slap them down
and throw them on there.
Yeah.
To have a book like that, it really does boggle the mind to think that there are books out there who just defy. It's almost like they were meant to be appreciated, loved in this generation now.
The art.
It's fed. Look at this. Look at this guy.
When people think about comic books, a lot of their minds go to like the Batman TV series, Bang, Boom, Pow, this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And many people had no idea how much drama and passion and power and art and enthusiasm and creativity went into not only the covers but the books, the stories. And I think my favorite quote that a guy made one time, he was talking about pre-code books. He goes, it's not they're not cool because they're old. They're just fucking cool. And I agree with that.
I 100% listen. I got into this hobby stupid ago, and then I stopped, got back into the 90s and whatever. If it wasn't for these two gentlemen, James and Jason, who become really good friends of mine, I truly love their friendship. And not only that, their knowledge, because of them, I know so much more now about pre-code, and that's just watching their shows. Because their shows are not just selling books. They're giving classes. They're giving history classes. They're educating the masses. And what I love about that is that now when I see a book, and if I happen to see a book in the wild, I know what to look for. I know what's going on, right? And so that brings me to you, Matt. Excuse me. So Matt over here, so many guys don't know, James already he's collected the 24 books.
Mhm.
He has collected all the Senate books. And James, it took you how long?
Well, I started not just the collecting project, but the project itself. And the project was I found the photo of the presentation board that they used in the trial, and I
You have
couldn't
one there?
read. Jason, are you crinkling?
That's
Somebody's
not me.
crinkling. So if you got
What's this?
There we
there's
go.
the
That's got it.
so the photo that Pete's holding up right there. I came across that online, and when I found it online, I could kind of make out some of the books, and I was familiar with some of them, but most of them I couldn't really read the title that well because it was so blurry, but I couldn't pick off the issue number. So I just became kind of fascinated, and I'd say, you know what, I'm going to figure out what these books are. So anyway, eventually I figured out who owned that photo, and I bought the editorial rights. And when I did that, they sent me a high definition copy in this file. And when I printed it, it was crystal clear. Um, two of the photos, and I could read the issue numbers and I could read the title, so it made it easier to collect them. And then that's how my project started. And then I just started trying to find the books, and some of them were easier than others. And what I quickly discovered is some of the ones that were not as mainstream, for lack of a better term, than the others. When I bought them, they quickly ran out because they weren't books that were on anybody's radar.
Mm.
T-Man or Danger Number 8 or Justice Traps the Guilty 57. Now these are
And
books that
62.
are
Yeah.
62. These are books that are not on people's radar. Now, Crime
It's been
Suspense
quite a
Stories
ride.
20. Yeah. So it took me, Caesar, to answer your question, to get my first full collection of the 24 took about that whole process took about 2.5 years, I'd say.
All
Something
right.
like that.
So,
Yeah.
so that being said,
Yeah.
Matt, how far are you?
So today I actually got number 19, so I'm 6
Ooh.
away or 5 away. No, I'm sorry, I got number 18
Yeah.
today, so I'm 6 away.
Now, how long has it been taking you?
I didn't get into it in earnest because like I didn't even think about collecting that stuff for a while, and then I was really kind of into like Tales from the Crypt. So I initially got so I got this one, so it's just Tales from the Crypt because I was trying to get them all. And this happened to be so when we talk about the Senate books, we talk about the Senate investigation, and what James is talking about the Dirty 2000. It's those 24 books, which was on a board during the Senate investigation. So that happened to be one of them, and I didn't think much of it. And then I got a Haunt of Fear. Yeah, there you go. I got a Haunt of Fear from Jason later on, which was also again on that. And once I had those two, I was like, well, why not? So I think, so if you're asking when I started, that was June of last year. So I'm now, what is that, like
Wow.
8 months or something? But in
Okay.
earnest, it's been only like about 4 or 5 months. So
Listen, guys like James and Jason do the dirty work for you.
yeah, they did.
You know what? That's not all of it. That's for some, we have hunted some of these books, so we have extra copies. But on the other hand, Matt has become quite a hunter himself, and he's gotten into the fun of searching, finding, and it is not an easy task to find something truly rare. And to keep it in perspective, when you look at a book on that board and compare it to, let's say, I don't know, an Amazing Spider-Man 300, where there is 20, 30, 40,000 graded copies. On that list, there's like 6 or 7 or 10, maybe,
Right.
Or one of the big ones where there's 30 or 50, but there's not hundreds. There's nothing like that. And these are antiquities. These are rarities that just need to be cherished.
That being said, that 9.0 of that Black Cat, is that the highest in the census?
That's the highest grade file copy. So there is a 9.2 that's out there, but this is a file copy that came directly from Harvey Publishing. So
Wow.
for those who aren't familiar with file copies, the publisher, kept a couple books for themselves of every book that was ever published, and somehow that made it out into the wild. Somebody snuck it out, and here it is today.
And by no means does that mean it's going to be high grade, because I've seen file copies that are 3.0s. It just defines the origin of the book, which is cool that you know that.
So let me go to you, Matt. When you're in the wild and you come across a SOTY book, especially the one that you're looking for, or even not one that you're looking for, maybe you have a dual copy, but you just see it in the wild. Is it that adrenaline rush that just goes like, holy shit, do they not know what they have here? And you just paid the $4 they're asking and you just slowly walk out? Or do you kind of go, hey sir, this is a pretty high dollar value book. I'm gonna give you what? Yeah, I didn't think so. You gotta fucking pay him the $5 a while.
Yeah. So like the example I had, so one of the books on here, where is it? Okay, so you got Crime Does Not Pay, which is up there. So I was telling Jason and James, I found that on a website, a comic seller, and it was right in there, and it was low grade, but I found that it was $10. So the adrenaline. And at the time too, the seller was away on vacation, so it was shooting out this email, and you're waiting. It's this whole week of just waiting and hoping, like, is this in stock? Because the website looks like it's from 1998. Those old ones, and it's all HTML based, and you're waiting, and it gets back to you like, yes, I have this, and it's $10, and the shipping is literally more than the book, and that adrenaline rush, it's incredible. And now you're hoping, like, please God, don't let the USPS like destroy this book in transit.
Right.
What's that book worth? You paid 10.
I mean, James would know.
Jason, but before
I will tell you,
Jason purchased
that book
on eBay, and this he'll tell you the rest of it. Just the one little note I wanted to say is that imagine you're an experienced seller of comic books and you don't know anything about the Senate Book Project, and all of a sudden you decide to put up this, Crime Does Not Pay 133,
along with 10 other Crime Does Not Pays,
and the auction starts off at $5. You're like, whatever. And then you glance back at the auction and it's up to 1,000, 1,500. What is going? And it literally happened. And Jason will tell you the price. I saw the guy on Facebook or on Instagram. He's messaging, what the fuck is going on? And people are like, I don't know. What is it? Is it a quadruple cover? Is it signed? Is it, and we knew while we're watching the auction, and I didn't tell him until after the auction was over what happened. But so Pete bought that book for $10. What did you pay, Jason?
$2,200 or two after tax.
Wait a minute, but whose copy's better?
I mean, it's probably Jason's, I'm sure, but
is it $2,200?
I was
better?
blessed with a 4.5.
Yeah, I mean, at best, mine's probably like a 1.8. I think
it doesn't matter. Yours isn't 2,200, Matt.
Yeah.
So
but that was a year ago, and Matt found the next one. Like and it's not for lack of looking. I mean, I'm looking every day, and Matt got absolutely creative and found kind of a different avenue, which is what you have to do. You have to kind of reinvent the rules here, because if it's out on eBay, that $30 book would have been $1,000 book or more, because I know I would have gone after it, James would have gone after it, and there's several other people that are hunting these like we are.
Now this is the greatest thing that I love about this community and about you guys. I mean, I'm pumping your guys' fucking head so big as I can fit in that damn box I'm looking at. The fact that you guys, because of what you do on your shows, on Instagram, on Saturday nights, for the most part, every Saturday night, you have inspired others to start looking for all the Senate books, right? I know for a fact, I know quite a few people who are on your shows. You're like, thanks for selling me that book. I am 20 away. I'm 18 away. I'm 16 away. I'm seeing more and more of that because people there's something about having, I think I have history on my wall. I do to a point. These guys have history and I do mean literal Senate hearing history history that changed the way comic books were published. The fact that they removed certain keywords, the fact they had to come up with a certain code that had to be authorized, and it's that to me is history in the making. And to have a replica, and many people don't know, but James did a sort of a replica picture of his books, and almost shot for shot of the one that Matt keeps showing. There's something cool about having
70 years. Yeah, 70 years later.
70 years, people. That's people always think about Action Comics #1 and Batman #1 and all this stuff. Yes, that's the mainstream that we know. But these artists, and we didn't even talk about it, and I would like to talk about pulp books because many people don't realize about pulp. And I only have one that was on my wall. But talk to us a little bit about the pulp books and how a lot of those artists ended up, they're very quiet, ended up kind of making it bigger with the comics.
But before jumping, I just wanted to make one other comment. When it's very uniquely satisfying to see other people to get enthusiastic about something that was personal to you and that's something that you found interesting. And to see books that I found that I could find when I first started the project for $10, $5 to go up to such crazy heights. I did not have any desire
It's
to
your
do it.
fault.
I didn't do it because of money, like to create this crazy demand, but it was just, it's oddly satisfying to see that happen. And and I think one guy said, sent me a DM. He says the reason it's becoming popular because there's not a lot of new stuff that's happening with Golden Age books or just books in general. There's not a lot of new, not new discoveries per se, but just new things to look at from a collector's perspective.
Mhm, mhm,
It's kind of
mhm.
fun. I mean, and most of those books were had when we first started, Jason and I for kicks. Jason was the first one to really get on board with collecting them with me. Looked at the census for these books. Half of them had a census of 0 or 1. And now you look at the census, that's tremendous. So anyway,
But
Paul,
in other veins, there were books that we were able to find a year, 2 years ago that are almost non-existent. That it could pop up tomorrow, but it hasn't in a long time.
here's
And
one last one I'll show you. So this book here, the reason I'm showing it to you is, let's see if I can get it where it's not too much reflection. So
That's
this is LB Cole, and it's all famous police 14. So if you want to do something interesting, you go to GPA analysis and look at some of the sales on this. There's not a lot of sales activity, but it went from being like 100 to 200 to $300 to 4,000 for the second highest graded copy.
Yeah.
Now
I had to pay that.
now is that all because of the whole Senate thing
No,
became popular, or
no, I
it's
don't
hard
think
to
so.
know.
I think part of it, somebody asked me that same question. I said, number one, it's first of all, it's an LB Cole cover,
Mm.
and it's a big LB Cole crime book. And the one that sold was a high grade. It was the second highest graded. So high grade, our second highest graded, big LB Cole crime book, had a lot going for it already.
And
And
rare.
and it's
Rare.
rare. And now people understand it also has the notation that it was used in the Senate investigation on juvenile delinquency. And most people don't realize that, or didn't realize that was the case. And it's the only LB Cole book that they used on that presentation board. So it's got a lot going for it now.
well, before we start getting to pulp, since Ryan is here, this is a fantastic story. This happened at MegaCon, and James is a big part of it. So, and remind me the name real quick, James, of the artist. Just what is it? Starts with
Ekron.
an E. Ekron.
Oh, yeah.
Ekron,
So,
yeah.
okay, so James, so Ryan Bigger from Bigger Cards and Comics on Instagram, and a buddy, we're on the way to MegaCon. We're in the car, and he's just out of the blue. Don't know why. He goes, "Have you ever heard of the Ekron books?" I said, "I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about, you hippie." And he's like, So there's this guy who is kind of schizophrenic. He's in the streets, and he's this artist. And this other publisher saw his work. He says, "Hey, I'll pay you some money for your art, and this and this and that." And the guy's like, "Okay, whatever." And he basically pays him pennies, right? And correct me if I'm wrong, James. Basically, pays him pennies for this art, and he ends up going and publishing his art, and the guy gets basically nothing. And these books are very scarce, and they're not that many. And there's only, I think, 4 covers of these books. So I'm like, well, that's an interesting story, Brian. Thank you for that absolute nonsense that I didn't ask about. So next thing you know, I run into James at MegaCon. We were planning on hooking up anyways, and I run into him. He's like, "Hey, Caesar, let me show you what I got." So he puts his 40-pound backpack down because they already had a shitload of books already. And the first book he pulls out is the book that Ryan was talking to me about. My mouth fell to the floor, and I told James, "You wouldn't believe what you're just showing me." So I turned around, Jay and Ryan was doing his shit behind me, and I screamed, "You wouldn't believe, Ryan, what this guy has in his hand." Long story short, Ryan brought up the story to me because he's been trying to collect these books and he can't find them anywhere because they're hard to find in the wild. Well, long story short, Ryan left MegaCon with that book because James was so nice to sell to him. And the thing is that even at a con, now mind you that I consider the con when you're looking through the bin, it's the wild. I would say James found that book in the wild. And I'm pretty sure you were kind of surprised yourself, James, that you found that.
Yeah, it's typically a private sale type of book. It was a lower grade, but it presented extremely well, which is very unusual. Because that particular book, The Weird Horrors and the Weird Terror, well, any of those very few Ekron books, it's all about the artwork because of, and Jason calls it, Jason's the first person I ever heard say this. It's kind of like fingerprint art because you really look at his artwork. It really looks like he took a fingerprint and used that same type of, puzzle, type of design.
It looks like one of those mazes.
Yeah, exactly.
With the pencil that you go all the way through.
Yeah,
the whole cover's like that.
And it's a stereotypical, very common. It's very unfortunate that it's repeated through history. Somebody with a horrible mental illness. It's a fantastic artist. It has zero business savvy and really doesn't really care about money and gets taken advantage of by somebody that sees this opportunity. But when I saw him and I knew how enthusiastic he was about it, I wanted to make sure he got the book. So
and you know what? And I love how that all played out because it didn't play out at the show. It played out later.
Yeah.
Because this community, we all came together in one place, late at night, and we kind of had marathon shows where first time we've all been together doing it. Well, second time because I wasn't there last year, and it was one of those things where James wanted Ryan to have it. And
he wasn't going to buy. He was on the fence. He loved it, but he wasn't going to buy it. It's not a cheap book. It wasn't cheap for me to buy, and I actually had it on the show on the rack, and
I turned around. I said, "Jason,
like, right. He has to have it, man. You can't." Somebody that loves that book. That's like for me. Jason knows there are certain books that I love, and there are certain books that he loves. That if they come up, I mean, yeah, maybe I can't afford it at the time, and maybe the timing is horrible from a financial perspective. But if it's something that just never ever comes around, I got to figure out a way to get it because it's so important.
You put that on the live. I turned around and said, "Ryan, this son of a bitch is going to sell this book, man. And if you don't grab it now,"
I'm so glad he did because it would have been gone in a heartbeat.
I told Ryan, if you don't get it now, you're going to kick yourself until you're dead. And
I got lucky, quite frankly, getting it at MegaCon for the price that I did because I bought it with the guy had a lot of other books that I wanted and some other things, and I just put it all together, made him a big offer, and the negotiation worked out, and that was part of it. But
what's really cool about that, or about the Ekrons, is that a year ago I'd never even heard the artist. You know, and it's not like he was just came out in 2025. But something happened where this was the trend of something 80 years ago, right? And I wish there was more from him because it's so amazing.
I've sold a total of 4. I was going to say 5, but I've sold a total of 4 copies of the different Ekron books. One of them to a very good friend of mine who was a very similar situation. He was looking forever, and he was looking for a high grade, like a 5.0 of this particular cover. And it wasn't a matter, like for me right now, I'm looking for a Beyond 25 and a 5.0 or higher. That's the Beyond 25. It's a Senate book, and it has 2 zombies that are pilots, airplane pilots.
You got Arrow.
So I'm trying.
Who has it?
So somebody's. Well, there are, Caesar, on the census. There are 5 copies that are out there that are higher than the 4. I have a really nice 4.5 now, but there's 5 copies that are higher out there. And as soon as one comes up,
So cool.
I'm gonna be jumping. And there's a lot of people, and I'm making it public right now with you guys. I mean, it's one of those books. But my buddy, he said, if you've ever, James, if you ever run into a 4.0, or a 5.0 or higher in this particular Ekron, let me know. And it came across, and it was just so satisfying to help him find that.
There's I always say it whenever we do unboxing on Instagram. I haven't done one in a while because I wasn't working until now. I always tell people whenever I watch unboxing, when they do that, it feels like I'm winning.
Yes.
When they unbox something that they've been waiting on and they've been making payment plans or something's been hunting and they open it.
What a great statement. I love that.
When I say when they win, we all win. Because there shouldn't be a jealousy of F that guy, why can he afford it and I can't? It's more like, good for you, man.
The feeling's familiar.
But the feeling, exactly. Because we all have been there. We've all opened that book and we're like, oh my, and you display it like I display my books. And when they're just smiling from ear to ear, you catch yourself smiling as well. And you're going, I'm like a mental patient over here smiling because you're smiling because he's smiling.
It's a unique community. There are a few people that are competitive, but even the ones that are competitive about having the highest grade, it doesn't come from that really like a visceral or cutting place. It never comes from a bad place. Yeah.
I do it with some guys. I'm like, well, Caesar, what's your grade? I'm like, oh, I'm a 3.5. They're like, I beat you. I'm at 4.0. I'm like, you son of a bitch, right? It's competitive. It's like a friendly competition.
Yeah.
But it never comes from a bad place. Yeah.
It's so much fun. And one thing I wanted to talk about on the show was kind of like and all sellers are probably different. Many people sell books and have like no attachment to them. But for me, like I fall in love every week, like with Zombie Tramp there. I fall in love every week. And then I feel like I break my own heart because I want someone to have it. Like I don't keep a big PC collection, but most books that I buy and sell would be a PC book for me. But then I really want someone else to have it. And then nothing makes me happier that after a sale of a book that I loved, I ship it to them. And then they put up on Instagram, the picture of the book in their possession. And I'm happy again. So I'm happy twice. I'm happy when I open the box and I find it. And then I'm sad because I sell it. I'm like, oh, I had it. I loved it. And I'm not selling it because I got to sell it. I sell it because that's kind of the commitment I made to being an Instagram seller or, being a comic seller is that I get it. I know I'm going to be parting with it soon, but there is an absolute love of these books where it's not just like this commodity of a faceless stock or bond that's coming and going. These are things that I have handled, loved. They're pieces of history. They're antiques. And now someone else got them. And then I'm like, oh, I'm so happy that it's you who got this from me.
I am extremely lucky because of these two fine gentlemen that I can't say that I own at least 2 of the 24 books, so Haunted Fear 23 and that Spellbound. What is it, 4? Is that what that is?
23.
23. Very excellent, Matt.
The Spellbound is 20. The Spellbound is 23. It's the last. It's the last book before.
A lot of them have the
it's the
same
last
number.
prequel book.
There's
Yeah.
like
These,
It's-
what's interesting is that presentation board. One of the reasons they chose that is that all those books, people could go to that hearing, that public hearing. They could walk outside the door, go to the newsstand, and find those books. So it's kind of a message, like say, this is what your kids are seeing, and it's available today. Go look. And
Because
So
a
let's-
lot of books were, why did they chose those books? We've debated this quite a bit, but I think one of the reasons is that's what was available at that moment, because they all
at that moment.
they all share this one, Tales from the Crypt. I just this had just come in today. I had gotten it from a friend, and what year is it? 1954. When was the trial? Or when did the Comics Code come in? 1955. So some of it was truly convenience, I think.
So let's get into pulps, right? Not too long ago, I think it was last year or the year before, when CGC, the comic grading company, started grading pulps, and now that's another thing for collectors. And for a while there, and it died down. But for a while there, everyone was sending in their pulps to get graded. Everyone was selling the graded pulps, and I got this and this grade, that grade, and it's died down. Now, for those who don't know, the pulp books are smaller than a comic, thicker. Yeah, who is a pulp?
Here, hold on, I got
Jason.
Got lots of them. But
Well,
let me just I got some right near me here.
he paid $22,000 for a $5 book.
Here we go. So
Here we go. So let me show you guys. So Jason, so that's a pulp book. So it's a lot smaller than a comic book, and it's thick. So if you want to show the side of it too, Jason, because
I'm taking it out.
It's a pulp. I mean, it's a book. I mean, so these pulp books have, and correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen, they had a couple, like 4 stories in there, right? Little short stories.
They're really digests. So a lot of them are stories, and the only art on many of them is right on the cover.
The cover.
Right.
Now, a lot of these artists who were doing these pulp books, I'm assuming they went on to do comic books, right? The actual comic book covers, right?
some, yeah.
Many of them, yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
So now these pulp books are older. So to me, and we're talking like 1940s.
Well,
Right.
19,
No,
19,
take it back to
1920.
1900.
Yeah. But the when they started to explode was kind of around the Depression, in the 30s, when the U.S. went through the Depression. And it was the form of entertainment that was somewhat affordable at the time.
So if you think about it, gentlemen, we're talking about books that are graded the same grade, 0.0 all the way to 10.0. To have a book from the 1930s in a 5.0, 6.0, that once again, it goes back to the care of these people, these adults. I'm going to say adults because most likely they were adults reading these pulps. But if you guys don't really, not when I say you guys, I mean the audience, if you really pay attention, there's a love affair that we, especially these 3 here, there's a love affair about these covers that are so well drawn, and the colors that they used in the 40s and 50s, the vibrant blues and the purples and the reds and the violet even more, right? Greens. I mean, look at this book, people. See that? To think that, and mind you, the paper that they used back in those days, right, gents? They weren't exactly.
The name.
The reason was pulp, right?
The reason, like you just were going to say, is that they were called pulp. I mean, it was the bottom of the barrel when it came to paper, the most affordable paper available to publishers because nobody had any money. pulps were meant to be disposable, even more so than comics. I mean, horrible paper. And
Oh,
the
yeah.
fact that, I mean, Margaret Brundage covers, and she's, if you want to read an interesting, there's not a lot of,
Which one, Abby?
not a
Go
lot
on.
of, not a lot of historical writings or biographies about Margaret Brundage, but there are a few. And this is a woman that had a very troubled and very well lived and a very unique life. And she was an extremely talented artist that was classically trained in Chicago, and she was trained to be a runway artist. So they didn't use photography and video in the 30s. They actually hired artists to, like Gucci would hire artists to paint someone in their dresses. So when you look at Brundage art on some of her famous Weird Tales covers, you look at the dresses these women are wearing, and they are painted in such a way that is incredible. And in the artist community, it sounds unusual, but an artist that knows how to paint fabric is revered by fellow artists because it's very difficult to paint moving fabric. And that goes back to the artists from the pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood to Margaret Brundage and her Weird Tales covers. Just incredible artwork. And she also was not allowed to reveal that she was a female, because if they had discovered that a female was painting these covers with snakes and bondage and whips and all kinds of variety of women in stressful situations, it wouldn't have been tolerated. And they eventually, the publisher did, one publisher did reveal it, and that was the end of her career.
Oh, oh, really? So that
The-
actually that,
The only
that
Brundage
did.
I have handy right here.
Yeah.
But
Oh, you have one.
That's one. Yeah.
Oh,
So she
I mean,
was the most famous. She did the most famous pulp, and that is Weird Tales. They call it Batgirl. It's that lime.
oh, oh, James. Oh, wait a minute. He lost. He's back.
She's like,
there
He
it
got too you got too excited, James, talking about this.
I got excited. I got too excited. What happened? I didn't do anything.
You jumped off, then you
I
jumped
did.
back on.
Oh, wow.
Oh, so wait a minute. She does the one that with
Batgirl.
all
Yeah.
right, with the all
Yeah, so
green
the-
cover.
Yes, it's
And
one.
she's
It's
got-
one of the few.
she's
She
got, like-
also did Suicide Chapel, which is also a Weird Tales book where you have a woman in this tangerine, like a vibrant tangerine dress, kind of bound to a water wheel, and it's an all jet black cover. And that was done in the 30s as well. I mean, most of Margaret Brundage's Weird Tales books were 1932, I believe, to 35 was like some of her best work. And regardless of what happens to the pulp market, where it goes up and down sideways, there's certain Margaret Brundage covers that just maintain their value. One is Suicide Chapel, the other is Batgirl. Um, any of the ones with the big, there's one with a jade green snake on the cover. It's a second appearance of Conan. There's a few, but that are just iconic covers that will always hold their value, regardless of what happens to the pulp market.
There is one word whenever I talk to people about Golden Age and book. There's one word I always use to describe it, and that is cool. They're just cool covers. Simple as that, man. It's there's something about those kind of covers that it's hard to emulate now, because considering the fact that kind of they didn't have digital artwork to work with. They weren't using, Waka tablets and all that. They weren't doing that stuff. This is straight up what colored pencils, watercolors, whatever they use at the time.
Brundage did a
It's
lot of her presentations to publishers in chalk. And one of the reasons that she stopped, like she was taking care of her mother who was dying, and in Chicago, she was offered a job in New York
There
City
it
and
is.
she could have made a ton of money, but she stayed in Chicago and tried to take some of her stuff to New York. But the train ride, when she'd take her train ride to New York with her chalk drawings, many times it was too difficult for them to survive the trip.
Oh my god!
Something that
It,
simple made it difficult for her to get her work published because she wasn't going to leave her mother in Chicago.
So Mrs. S says women have always been viewed as frail and fragile creatures. We
Man,
are
you want to read
workhorses who have
Brundage?
vivid imaginations.
Yeah, Brundage was she was just a badass human being. I mean, she married a the biggest womanizing saloon owner from the speakeasies during Prohibition. She was a chain smoker. She never did interviews, and she did some of the baddest art covers you will ever see. I mean, and you think they're shocking today? Imagine how shocking they were in 1935.
Imagine.
I mean, they're shocking when you look at them today. I mean, think about
Yeah.
that. 1935. What reaction they had?
I mean,
So
look at what she did here. This isn't the raciest. This is
No,
what I have available, but
that's
it's
tame.
pretty racy.
Yeah, compared to what she does.
And there's a lot with just old nudity that she really shows off her ability as a classic artist. I mean, it's just
now the cool thing is that we keep talking about these pre-code horror books and what have you, and crime books, but many people kind of forget the romance covers, right?
yes.
So
Yeah.
there's the same people who the box of people who like to collect crime books, the same people who like to collect skull covers, Jason's favorite mummy covers,
Mommy
you know,
covers.
all that kind of stuff. There are people out there who love to collect romance covers. There you
Jason loves. He's probably grabbing it. True Life Secrets.
I was.
What does that say, James?
This
Torchy?
is torchy. This is not romance. This is just a straight up what they call good girl art. And the focal point is an attractive woman that typically has a variety of men around her that are can barely speak because they're so infatuated with her beauty. And that's just some quality. This Torchy is some quality good pre-code good girl art. And look at the dress that she's wearing and the look at
Yeah,
this.
look at that. Look at them
And the
gams, huh?
red and the red. Look at that red. You're talking about color. That's color.
That Torchy I've had just been looking at for years. I think it is truly one of the most dazzling books. But in the past year, I have done some migration to a lot of good girl art. You know, I think it's fun in Golden Age to reinvent yourself and find something. You know, so like you said, mummies or something. I decided one day I'm going to collect crazy robot covers, and I wanted in my head I wanted to try and understand what the initial what a robot would look like in the 20s, you know. So I went back and said, all right, let me find the earliest sci-fi appearances. Where do you find those? You find them in pulps, and if I get a moment, I'll go grab some here. Some are out at getting graded forever. But then the other thing is the good girl art, like James said, and I've been like on a binge where, you know what, who are some of the greatest artists back at the time doing, like, you know, I love some of Ken Bald's stuff where he did Sun Girl, Namora, a lot of Millie, and then I started collecting. You know, this is one that Matt was talking about. This True Life Secrets, and I think this book is just so. Read the caption here.
It's called an innuendo cover.
Probably
for a reason.
What is she saying there? I can't. What is she saying there?
What must I do to get those? But the way that she's drawn and the seductive look and that dress, you know, this is an iconic good girl
original gold digger from the Golden
exactly
Age.
Literal gold digger. You know, the cool thing is. So I keep saying, right, the romance, there are people who like romance. What else have you guys noticed? Now, I'm going to throw a few out there, right? I'm going to throw a few out there. So there's people who collect, as Jason said, robot covers, skull covers, snake covers, bondage, right? No matter how that, whatever bondage that is. And what else am I missing, guys? Machine guns or
Sharp covers?
That's right.
Which covers? Well, shark
Shark covers. Yeah, like we have people that come on. Do you have any shark covers?
Yeah.
Shark covers. Yeah.
Shark covers.
Zombie covers. You
And
know.
then there's some highly drowning covers. So
Oh,
there's
mhm.
very specific. Some might be, you know, women in distress, but it's not always related to women. But this is a crime suspense stories. It's a pre-code horror, but it's also a drowning cover.
Yeah, I was gonna say choking. The
Yeah,
choking
so
covers have been
choking, drowning, torture, you know, that type of.
Yeah.
Some people collect strictly, you know, lady in red.
Mm.
Red dresses, right?
The other is
Yeah, I like
psychedelics.
this one because there's about literally 20 skulls on it, and you have a lady in red.
Oh,
So I
awesome
went for
book.
double on that one.
Double
It's
it
a
up.
trifecta, right?
Yeah.
That's
So-
the thing to the other is color, by the way. You mentioned color. Some people
Mhm.
they try to find the purple. So EC, here's an example. This EC Entertainment Comics, a lot of their when they would do their printing, the cover on the Haunt of Fear books would come out either blue, and sometimes they come out this deep purple, and sometimes a violet, and it's the same book.
Oh, we love that.
And
We love to
so
compare that.
when you find it's like this book, this Haunt of Fear is an EC book, and it came out this, you know, deep purple. And there's people like me that try to find and collect the deep purple EC covers, which
Mhm.
are
Mhm.
kind of a variant if you think about it, because most of them were meant to be blue.
Well, you know what? And I always think back. I always think back to when you and I did the live shows together in my downstairs.
Yep.
When we converted that one summer, my whole downstairs was basically a comic shop, and we had 3 copies between the two of us of shock suspense stories. I forget the issue number, but we call it the Melting Man. Where the guy's being struck by lightning, and literally he's kind of melting. And we had 3 of them. They were all 6-0s, and the shades of the purple were different. And
one was deep blue, one was just like a navy type of blue, and then you had true deep purple. The same book.
And it wasn't fading. It wasn't degeneration.
It's just a printing issue. The things, the
was
variables
they had available.
Yeah. And they're beautiful. The variations are beautiful.
Yeah.
So as far as collecting, people will collect specific color covers, and there's also subgenres. So when you say people that collect skull covers, some people collect skull covers, and some collect only full. It's called a full skull cover, so that it's dominated by just one, you know, the one large skull, like Punch. Was a Punch 11, and there's a bunch that are, you know, Witchcraft #2. They're just a full skull cover. Here's another one. This is these are LB Cole psychedelics. They're called.
Oh yeah, these are great.
So psychedelics.
Those are cool. Yeah, I'm drawn to those, and I think it's strictly because of the colors.
Yeah. So the psychedelics. So Blue Bolt came out with about I think there's a total of 12 books that LB Cole did that were the psychedelics, and they all have these gorgeous psychedelic covers that you could clearly see that he was the grandfather of these 1960s blacklight posters and album covers and album posters that had that psychedelic, you know, blacklight type theme to them. He was doing that shit in the 40s.
Imagine if LB Cole had the ability to draw in glow in the dark kind of colors that would light up in black light.
Yeah, well, he did some crazy. You know, funny enough, was LB Cole was his favorite thing to draw, and just to draw his artwork was horses, and doing them as realistically as possible. Because as a young man, he was sent to Kentucky to live, and he just fell in love with drawing horses. That was his favorite thing to do, like drawing for field and stream. Yeah,
he doesn't do it too much in the comics, but there are a few where you could really see his passion on that.
Yeah, he actually drew textbooks. A lot of LB Cole did textbooks and drawing the human heart, or drawing all kinds of anatomically correct animals, and is very, very good at very highly realistic art as well.
Well, you know, and being in the medical field, having having looked at, you know, the anatomy texts, it is essentially comic art. You know, so I never really thought about it that way. But I go back to, I think Netter was the classic anatomy book, and you think it, you know, these are not actual photographs. These are anatomy drawings, and you'd have to go to a comic type artist to do that.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things that we really don't think about the time it took these guys to learn how to. It's not easy to fucking draw people, and the fact that these guys were doing it and when the time they did it, it's just incredible. So let me ask you guys, Dave, look at that. Thanks, Dale. So we just hit 90,000 fans, 90,000 people on our Facebook page.
Wow.
90,000 people. That's not too shabby for a page that was started a little over a year ago. 90,000. So thank you everybody who subscribed to our Facebook page, and 90,000. That's all to Dale, my partner here, who'll be joining us next month.
Well,
he puts out that content and all that stuff. So.
We'll be waiting our gifts for pushing you over the top.
No, yeah, that's not going to happen. So let me ask you guys, since you guys are the sellers, all right, and you guys put up your shows on Saturdays, and Pete's always there as well, and it's the same faces we see every single day. What books do you guys go up? What books do not stay on your shelves? You're already going, like, the minute I show this, it's going to be gone. Is there a specific?
All right, so this came cover. What is it? This one came in today, and I was I've been waiting a few days for this one, but like talk. So first of all, let's talk about romance for a moment. You know, I am truly a believer in love, and dedication, and just, you know, timeless love. You know, through eternity, right? So right here.
Oh, yeah.
no, this is a book. This cover is just gorgeous, right? I mean,
the skeleton,
twisted necrophilia, right? But there will be people that will want this book, and I don't know that would even make it to a show. And this cover, I don't know why I look at this. James really pointed this out to me the first time, and I'm like, oh my God, I have to have that. And kind of like I was saying earlier, I don't want to get rid of this, even because I just got it, but I know that I will, and it won't even be very long from now. But that's the kind of thing that I hunt down. I go, you know what, I'm going to get that out there for our people, so that someone gets this.
So what are you thinking is what flies off? What's the trend? Have you noticed that skull covers sell quick more than snakes and sharks? What's the what do the people love?
James will attest to, and if you look behind him, there's two books right next to the Code Blue sign that with the red covers there that are titled Marvel Mystery, and they're probably, knowing James, they're both war covers there.
War covers. We didn't even talk about war covers.
So some of this is customer dependent, right? So we have, you know, been doing this for a while and have developed some friendships with people. And some of them collect the exact same books that I collect, and we kind of trade under copies. That happens quite a bit. But so it's somewhat customer or collector specific. But one of the things I've looked for, and it's been very consistent, it's not new, but when I find a Marvel Mysteries, it's a Schomburg cover. So Alex Schomburg is the artist. It's a Marvel Mystery Human Torch cover, and it's truly a World War II book, meaning that it was published and it was made available to the public during World War II. And it and all of these books that Schomburg did during World War II are very special. And what I typically look for is it a 6? If I can find a 6.0 or higher, or even a 5.0 or higher, that has good page quality, meaning it's either off-white, white, or off-white to white. Those are rare, and I keep an eye out for ones that I know people that are looking for them, right? So those are expensive books. They're typically, when you find a Marvel mystery that's a 6.0 or higher and has white pages, you're, depending on which World War II book you're talking about, they're typically $4,000 and above, most of them, especially in that grade. The other that's been a consistent seller, for lack of a better term, is if you can find. And fortunately, I've done well at finding mid to high grade EC books like crime suspense stories, haunt of fear, shock suspense stories that are raw, but they're mid to high grade and have excellent covers. So the colors are sharp. You can find EC books anywhere, but if you can find those books that are, in that 300 to $1,000 range, and it's an EC book and it's a high grade, and the front cover looks great, those are very popular. I tipped in our show. I've started doing a lot of auctions with the EC books, and they always
They
always do
always
well.
go and they seem to. I think there's a romance of them being raw for
Yeah.
some reason.
Well, you might be able to bump them and get an upgrade, or
I'll
a
notice
cleaning and pressing.
but
as a buyer with EC though, the Tales from the Crypt, because you guys ran out like immediately on the every
Very,
show I'm
very
in. If they
true.
have Tales from the Crypt
Never lasts.
specifically,
Gone.
it never
Gone.
lasts. More than Haunt of Fear, more than Vault of
Yeah.
Horror, more than any of it's
Yeah.
Tales from the Crypt will always go.
Very
so,
Always.
true.
so EC level is just such a great entry level pre-code book.
For sure.
So-
That's how I got
First-
it.
So let me ask you, when I've noticed, and for anybody who goes on the shows, people always ask for certain artists, right? And all of a sudden, we've noticed, for a while there, everyone kept on asking, "Do you have any Matt Baker covers?"
Mhm.
Or Matt Fox. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, it dies down. All of a sudden, it's like, "Do you have any XYZ covers?" Just out
Yeah.
of the blue, they just spur up.
My personal
Why?
belief is that you have someone that, well, maybe more than one person that's influential in the community that people respect, maybe educates people on the book and
100%.
shares their passion about the book, and then maybe that kind of creates a snowball effect. And I will say that yes,
Mhm.
some of the Matt Baker books have tailed off a bit, but there's certain issues of Matt Baker books that have more than held their own and continue to grow in value. I just sold
I
one
think
not
it
too long ago.
matures.
Yeah, but like things like Dave Stevens, for example, which is
Yeah, I
not
was about to say Dave
golden
Stevens.
age,
Right.
but that's one that kind of rocketed up and then kind of plateaued.
Yeah, and then
But
right
still
now,
great. But still great art. I mean, fantastic art. Right.
right now, people are looking for Bruce Timm. Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That's what I was telling James the other day, that Bruce Timm, who I've been watching since Batman Adventures,
Right.
is suddenly we need Bruce Timm. I'm like, why?
Yeah, I was
Why
talking
now?
with someone
Why
about-
today?
I was talking about it the other day. You can see this trajectory. It was like Peach Momoko, and then it goes into like Dave Stevens, and then it goes into like Bruce Timm, and right now it's like Mark Spears, and you ride these
So
Mark
waves.
Spears.
I mean, are we looking at FOMO? Is this like when everybody comes on our show, I need Frazetta? Is it FOMO or is everyone?
Well, I think it's like what James says. It's someone influential gets on that wagon, and then it's just everyone's like, oh, I want it now.
Yeah.
I've had some guys. I had a guy tell me the other day. He said that I don't really do a lot of pre-code Batman, or detective, very rarely. But there are like 6 of them that I look for. Again, I need to find. I prefer to find the cover is all there, the colors all there, the artwork's all there, and a 6.0 decent page quality or higher that just say Batman to me. Like when I see like the first bat signal, it's jet black, it has the full moon. To me, when I think of Batman, I see that. And somebody the other day mentioned that comment that I made. And I think also you have somebody that's really like I joke with Jason a lot, but I am a big believer in not chasing sales. I'm a big believer in really not selling at all. All the stuff that I buy it because I love it and I like it, and I'll just tell you what I like about it. And if you agree, with me, then that might be something that you're interested in too.
I
If
think
there's,
that's
and
how, I
I
think
don't
that's
talk,
why we
I
have the
don't talk
magic
about,
that we've got.
I don't talk about stuff that I don't know anything about. And I don't talk about stuff that I am buying just for, and I don't buy shit really to, oh, I'm going to make money. I mean, yes, I want to
Sure.
make enough to fund the
We gotta
the hobby,
fund the hobby, but
right? To fund the hobby and buy more inventory. But I'm literally I'm looking at this table right now. And I got about 30 books that I'm going to ship as soon as I get back to the States. And I'm looking at, I'm enjoying talking to you guys, and I glance over. I love every cover that I'm looking at right here.
Mhm.
Every one of them. I mean, they're just fucking awesome. From
well,
that
hey,
Black
let's,
Terror to that Criminals on the Run, that shark cover I showed you, the Haunted Thrills, all these EC books. Fucking love them.
we do, and he's not even performing here because we sit there and we talk about this. We talk about this every day, every night. We sit there and go, look at this, what's happening here. It is so much fun. And I don't know that this doesn't exist in more modern books, but there's just this romanticism about these books being, in the 40s and 50s that is just so much fun.
Yeah.
There's we go back to the hunt, right? And there are people that travel for work, and the first thing they ask is, "Hey, anybody? I mean, hey, everybody, does anybody know of a good LCS in the in the city of Timbuktu or whatever like that? I'm here
Yeah.
for a week. I'm here for a
Right.
week. So does anybody else? Oh yeah, go check up, mom and pop place." And you go in the back bin and you're going through, and all of a sudden you pull out some book that you're like, holy shit, right? And it goes back to that adrenaline rush of, and then not only do you buy it, the first thing you do is you call your buddy up and say, "You won't believe what the fuck I found," right? And
Right.
and that other person on the phone's going, "Fuck yeah," and you once again you share that excitement of this hobby, of this love, and for many it's not a hobby; it's their livelihood. This is this is what they do every day to make a living. This is
Yeah.
what they do to put the food on the table. This is a hobby for me, and I'm not a seller. I'm a collector, right? Um, and just like you guys are collectors, but at the same time, I got dupes. There's a book that I love, but not enough to keep it, so I'm going to share it for you to love, right?
This this is something that's fun about. Now, I don't know if this is going to convert into something that becomes hot or not, but I've always had a serious number of LB Cole books in my personal collection, and I've sold several as well. And almost everybody that's dabbled in pre-code knows who the artist LB Cole is. And when I saw this cover, I always, to me, it always looked like an LB Cole cover, and it reminded me of some of his art when he did Power. It's Power #1. And so I did some research, and I found a one paragraph that LB Cole. It was actually an article about Fox Feature Syndicate, who's the publisher. Anyway, long story short, in there it said that LB Cole did the very first issue of March of Crime, but he didn't
Mhm.
sign it, and because he didn't want to be associated with Fox Feature Syndicate. And so I found that referenced in another article, sent that to CGC, and then this just got CGC just put the notation on here. I'm not sure you can read it or not, but it says
Yeah.
that it's a now it gets the credit as being an LB Cole cover. So things like that
Oh,
may affect what's hot, what's not. But this I just find this kind of thing a fun project, and it's interesting to me. And then you also asked about the World War II books, the Schomburg covers and things like that. This is just an example of what that these are. This is a Marvel mystery. It's a higher grade. It's got good page quality, and they're typically there's deep reds, and there's just a lot happening on the World War II. It's you as a kid, and well, as an adult right now, when I look at this, you can look at a Marvel mystery World War II cover that was done by Schomburg, and it's kind of like reading an old newspaper. You know exactly what was important at that moment,
mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm.
what the what were the rumors about what was happening during the war. It's
Mhm.
reflected immediately in his artwork on the cover. So it's great. And because he was such a popular artist and a respected artist, he could do, like LB Cole could do whatever he wanted, and the publishers would put it up there.
Let me ask you. Let me ask you three. I don't think I've ever actually asked you guys the whole
Mhm.
times you've been on the show with me.
Yeah.
Who? And we can go around the horn. We'll start with you, James. Who's your favorite artist?
Was that for James or for me?
Yeah,
That's for
I'm-
James. That's
James.
for James.
I'm thinking about that.
All right.
I mean,
Jason, do you
initially,
have one?
yeah, go ahead, Jason.
Okay, well, I'll answer only because it just kind of comes to mind that I love Wally Wood's work. I like that they're not only is he just kind of like a great artist and in many ways holds very different hats. If I don't have a copy of Shock Suspensory 6, where he's kind of drawing the KKK with the woman in bondage, but also you get great sci-fi. And so much of it is I love the way he draws, but then there's also this personality to him that is perverse, and he will openly tell you that, hey, I love art, and I love drawing women, I love sex, and I'm unapologetically going to draw all three of those. And I could bring out a portfolio, but this stream would shut down if I did.
Yeah, we don't want to do that.
But I always appreciated kind of just his that attitude of his where he's got no fucks to give, truly. And I mean, I think I pulled a couple here is just kind of just we didn't get into sci-fi at all tonight, but
lecherous alien.
Oh,
Yeah.
there's the one. Yeah.
This is one of my favorite covers, but both have Orlando and Wally on that, but he's got so many covers that I just love, that they're great stuff.
All right. Pete, what about you?
That's my answer. I'm sticking to it.
Are you talking about Golden Age artists or just any artist?
Well, this is a Golden Age show, so let's stick with the Golden Age.
I mean, if you're thinking with Golden Age, I mean, like my EC was my entry into Golden Age stuff. So I always like Graham Ingles, ghastly Graham Ingles on the Haunt of Fear covers. He did all those. So, and you can kind of see that influence too. Like I really like Bernie Wrightson. You can kind of see that influence going into Bernie Wrightson too. It's right there. So I always liked his. He was always the best covers, I think, on all those books.
And I'll tell you, Jack Davis in the EC book, some of his like Tales from the Crypt 41 with the girl getting the axes thrown, to the board is probably my favorite EC book.
No wonder why these books were banned. Just hearing Jason talk about it. You're getting excited. It kind of makes me worried. How about you, James? What are you thinking?
So it's definitely. I mean, I own a lot of LB Cole. I own a lot of Schomburg. But when it comes to especially pre-code horror, number one is a toss-up between Bill Everett, who did Spellbound 17. And when I think, like I was talking about Batman, when I think of pre-code horror, I think of Spellbound 17. That's the woman that's holding her hands to her face, her eyes are wide, and her hands are skeleton hands on a human body.
Yeah.
And the story which was in there that's talking about her husband turned her into a zombie. She came back, turned him into a zombie so she could nag him for eternity. I mean, just a classic. And then the other is it's hard to me to dispute. Lee Elias did so many iconic books that people don't even realize that he did them. And if you just type in a Google search, Lee Elias, Golden Age comic book covers, you'll see so many books that you recognize. And my favorite.
I'm so jealous of you, Matt. I saw you post that.
I got this from you. No, I didn't get this from you.
You didn't get that from me because I'm not sure I've had that. Although I do.
It's a great book. I've had that multiple times. That's a killer book.
I love the black. I love the black and yellow.
That the Black Cat Mystery I showed you the 9.0 earlier.
Yeah.
This is
Mhm.
that's Lee Elias.
Mm.
And if you want to have my favorite Lee Elias, which I find comical, is that one of the publishers asked him to do probably say, can you do some romance covers? And he literally, Lee Elias did several romance covers, and even his romance covers are haunting. I mean, they look like something's getting ready to really go wrong any minute. And look at this.
See, James, I thought you were going here. I thought you were going to say Harry Anderson.
No, Harry Anderson too, for sure. I mean, for
Let me
me,
see, Jason.
Bill
Let me see.
Everett, Lee Elias, Harry Anderson. Yeah, they
Hold it
all
back up again, Jason.
they
Let
all
me see
are
that
right
first.
in the same vein.
There.
See, I love it. See how that blue in the back.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just beautiful stuff, man. See,
Yeah.
for me, since I'm not as heavy as these guys are, you know, what do you got there, Jim?
I need that one. I need both those ones they just showed. I still need both of those. So
Is that an Elias as well?
No, so this one doesn't have the artist
yeah.
listed, the cover artist, but most people agree that it's Harry Anderson. I mean, that's if you hold this up to 19, Mystery Tales 19, or you hold it up to
So he really gets two
one,
Senate books.
Yeah, both
I think,
Senate books.
or
Here,
here's another. Check this one out. This is one that's not very well known either.
I
This one, Unknown Worlds.
Yeah, here. So what? Here, put these both together here.
So here's the story that I tell with these two. So the one Jason's holding, the zombie has woken up. He's walked out of his grave. He's leaving the graveyard, and then on this cover, he takes a taxi. He arrives at his hotel. He drops off his hat, and he's making his way to his room. But it's basically the same zombie, and many people don't even know that this book exists. And
I do want to
it's killer.
Real quick, Caesar, we were talking about like what sort of drives the collectability. I do want to point out before I forget, James has designed a new label for CGC for the Senate books. So only those 24, when you submit them, are going to get that special label.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
so-
Is that true,
Yeah.
James?
Yeah, so right now they get the new distinction that happened about a year and a half ago that says that the book was used in the Senate investigation on juvenile delinquency.
Mm-hmm.
Now I've talked to Matt Nelson at CGC,
Mm-hmm.
and he's agreed to have a Senate label, but he hasn't. It's still going to be a blue label, unfortunately, and I wanted it to be silver. I wanted it to be silver, and I wanted it to have the Senate or like the Capitol building on it in the corner, something like this, something very recognizable.
Mm-hmm.
So he's agreed to that. I'm going to have to pay for it, and but I'm willing to do that because I'd like when people look at a book on a shelf, I want it to be immediately recognized. Okay, that book is one of the dirty 2 dozen. And to me, again, we didn't even talk about this, but we were talking before the show about giving presentations, right? And Caesar, if you were getting ready to give a big presentation, and I asked you, Caesar, I need you to give a presentation to the Senate investigation on juvenile delinquency. It's going to be televised. It's going to be in front of the public. And by the way, Caesar, you're running for president, so the presentation board we're going to use needs to be it's going to be important. So the books that you choose to put on that presentation board, yes, there were books that were readily available at the newsstand, but you better believe that many people looked at that presentation board to make sure that it had some bangers on there
Yep.
that were going to make an impact, right? For whatever reason. And that always fascinated me from just knowing in business. I give them many presentations. I take a lot of time and what you're going to show people.
Right.
And that's what they did.
It was methodically thought out because, listen, they know what they're doing. Right.
Yeah,
And
they're great books.
it's a shame that you couldn't make the label color those PCH colors, right? The purple and the greens.
It's not a
Wouldn't it be
pedigree.
cool? with the
Now, I
reds
haven't.
and the greens and purples. That'd be sweet.
What one thing I haven't given up on, and I haven't pursued it. I mean, I have a relationship or good communication with CGC and with Matt, but I haven't really. I've initiated conversation, but I haven't dived into conversation with CBCS. And they, who knows, they may be even more open to the idea of a special color, special, yeah, logo. I
I
don't
would,
know.
yeah,
I
Each
just I
one
just
should
haven't.
say,
Oh, I
this is a
can't wait to get all my
representative
books
comic book
regraded.
of the
Thank you.
weird variety.
That's so good.
but
That's my favorite, Pete. That's our Matt. That's my favorite. Is the weird variety, and it's
Yeah,
almost like they're only talking about the Weird Chills #1, which is
yeah,
very weird.
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
Yeah.
I'll say it again is that it would be very cool. Talk about distinctive to have PCH colors as a label with the Senate and something like that. To people go, oh, that's a
Yeah.
Senate book right away.
Yeah. You
They
see
don't have
right.
to look at the label. You don't have to
Yeah.
read the stuff saying it's used
You
in
know.
SODI.
Yeah.
It's like you see it and it's like, wow. But
Yeah. It's pretty
so
cool.
let me ask you guys, because we got 15 minutes left, or else we'll be here till 2 o'clock in the morning. Because you guys are used to that.
I got nowhere to go.
I know you have nowhere to go. Where
I'm all-
do you see the future of these books? Do you see them just keep climbing? Next, you know, you're holding up a book that's 100 years old. Does the value just keep going? Because that's another thing we never talked about. We all know that the modern prices, the value of modern books, they hit and then they dive or whatever it is. Silver Age books don't drop as much because of Silver Age. I'm assuming Golden Age books really don't drop. If anything, they keep going up. Do you
They're
see that
certainly-
trend?
They're certainly
I-
more resistant, because
I-
that already happened, right? And it's the rarity that keeps it going. 'Cause even the Silver Age, you can find whatever you want. There's no Silver Age book. Even Amazing Fantasy 15.
Yep.
You can
You
find
have the
tons.
funds.
Sure.
I'll get you 10 of them tomorrow. Okay.
Sure.
But I can't get 10 of that Senate book ever.
Yeah, I've got so like I found a book for Greg, for example, and I won't mention which one it was, but some of these pre-code books, they already have low census. I just look at it kind of like if you look at the classic car market,
Mhm.
the classic car market prices kind of go up and down in different auctions.
Mhm.
But if you have a 1950s Ferrari GTO that's in great condition, has most of the original parts in the car, and there were only 15 of that particular model made. It's from a just purely investment perspective, it's going to hold its value. It's not. They're not making any more of them. They're not going to discover a box of 1,000 um, you know
Mhm.
criminals on the run shark covers. It's not, especially the Senate books that were more obscure. They were burned, and then half of the dirty 2 dozen were people were not interested in the books. They didn't know anything about them. They were not on
So
anybody's radar. So
the
they were
older we
destroyed.
get,
So they were,
the
yeah,
older
because
we
if you look,
get,
it
yeah.
just naturally the census is so low on most of these books that it's a safer investment for those people that are strictly into investing. I mean, we don't want to lose money, but if you're
It,
interested, that's good. Yeah.
it's a shame that well, it's not a shame for me, but people when they think about comic books, let's be honest, they think about this. This is what they think about: Hulk, Flash,
Yeah, Batman, whatever. Yeah,
Batman,
Spider-Man,
whatever it is.
Spider-Man, yeah, Iron Man, yeah,
They don't think Schomburg. They don't
yeah.
think
That
Weird Tales. They don't
horror,
think
yeah,
horror,
skulls.
bromance. The stuff. It's a shame.
How many people, Caesar, when you start talking about the pre-code, the golden age, they describe it as down the rabbit hole, like truly, and even me, it was only
Yes, it's true. That's why.
because you know, it's always been there, but no one's gone there for, until you do, because it's this whole subculture of comic books that it's almost like we are this, I don't want to say an elite group, but we're a small group that is interested in this whole subculture of comics that you kind of I look behind you, and I'm like, I love all those books right behind you, but then behind those is in the secret room is where there's just a few of each of these, and you want to be part of that. And once you go down that rabbit hole and you're in that world, and and now my whole Instagram community are people interested in the same thing I'm interested in. It feels like a lot, but then I see something up on eBay and I'm like, you know what? I'll bet you there's a 90% chance that I know this person, even though I don't know their name, because it is a small group, truly.
Yes. It is true. And if anyone ever attends their live shows on Instagram, you will see the same 30 to 35 people every single Saturday. It's the same group.
It's growing a little bit, but it's still all the same people. Yeah.
I mean, it grows. And I think every year more people will go down that rabbit hole and go, oh my God, I've been missing this. I knew it was there, but I never really looked. And now that I'm looking, I can't not look.
I don't know about you guys, but I literally remember seeing the first pre-code horror book, and I was talking to a guy, and I was actually buying a Spider-Man book, and he had this pre-code book. Like, what? He goes, yeah, this is PCH. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? What?
Pacific Coast Highway.
And he says, he goes,
right?
yeah, this is.
Isn't that a PCH? Oh wait,
he didn't know much about it. He just started to describe it a little bit, and as soon as I saw that cover, I was like, I got to learn. So for the last 15 years or something, I've stayed in this lane and become kind of an expert on certain types of books, and that's about it. I mean, there's so much to learn.
Let me tell you what's really cool about this hobby is that anybody can collect whatever the fuck they want. I always tell people, it's your money. You could buy 35 of these books and burn them. I don't care. It's your money, right? You could do what the hell you want with it. But to me, I've noticed I've gotten more pleasure when I have focused my collecting to just the keys and slab. It's fun for me instead of just picking up every single thing like I did back in the 90s. Oh, it's number one. Oh, it's a whatever. I would pick that stuff up. Next thing you know, I have boxes of shit that I don't need because I'm going to be 53 tomorrow. That's right, people. It's my birthday tomorrow.
Happy birthday.
Congratulations. Happy birthday.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I'm going to be 53 and I'll be like, I don't need this shit. So and when you focus this, so the way I see it, if I was to go down the quote unquote rabbit hole, my focus would be to only collect the Senate books that are in that picture. That for me is the fun, the stuff that Pete's been going through of looking for these books and going, I'm 5 away, I'm 6 away from collecting the 24. Yep. And Pete, if you don't display them in a wall, you're a fool. Because that's people get on me. Why do you display it? The sun and all that shit. I'm like, listen, I don't live on Mars, you moron. All right. I do this because I could sit in my room and look at it every single night when I come in here or during the daytime when I used to work from home. I used to stare at it every day and I never get tired of it because it's an accomplishment. It's fun. It is the 8-year-olds and us, whenever we see something that we enjoy, it's fun. So display it proudly and buy what you love and go down that rabbit hole. It could be a pricey rabbit hole, but go down it and have fun doing it. And there's so much support in this community that's going to help you get those books. Now, I'm pretty sure, Jason and James, and you already alluded to it, there's people who hit you up on the side say, hey, I have a task for you. Find me this and find me that.
Absolutely.
Right? We do it for each other all the time. Like
Yeah.
we all know what we're, looking
If
for.
I
You're
find
you're
something
you're in that circle. You're in that circle. You're
Mm.
in that circle that deal in this genre. So it makes perfect sense.
I mean, it's pretty obvious for me that I'm not. It's not like a super. It's not really a realistic goal, and it's not a top goal for me. But to have as many high grade books in my Senate collection as I can, that would be nice. But it's can get very, very expensive.
Mhm.
But a lot of people know that there's certain Senate books that they know who to call if it's high grade, and they know I'm going to buy it. And most of them you know are not dicks about it, and aren't going to gouge
they
me, which
want
is
you to
awesome.
have it. They want you to make
Uh,
that goal.
my favorite is I was in the movie theater. And I was getting ready to watch a movie, and a buddy of mine from Ontario sent me a text, and he says, I came across something that you want, and let me know, if you want it." He already knew I wanted it, and he could have charged me twice GPA, on this book, and it was the highest graded copy of Web of Mystery, the Senate book,
Ooh.
and I think it was 8.5, and it's pristine, and it's a book you see a lot of the top of senses in that book. And it was a collector he knew that had held on to that for probably 20, 30 years. Who knows? And I was the first person he called, and he didn't gouge me, which, I mean, if you're, we treat each other well. Just don't be a dick. Is it
I
that simple? It's that simple.
that's my motto, and I use it, and I haven't said it in a while, but my motto is don't be a douche. Just don't
Yeah.
be a douche.
You're
You
not
know,
the smartest. Don't try to be slick. Don't pretend you're the smartest guy in the room.
if anything, if I came across something that somebody wanted, I'd buy it, and you just pay me back.
It used to hurt my feelings. I mean, this is full disclosure. When I would sell people books at a great deal, and then they turn around and flip them. But then you
Mhm.
realize it's part of it. And I'm not selling to only people that are, I'm not this altruistic person that's only selling to somebody that's going to collect. I know that people can make money or whatever. So I just try to do it fair prices. And then if it's somebody that I know that's really going to use in their PC, then I'll do whatever I can do to get close to either break even or, whatever I need to do to
Yeah,
help them out.
I've been very fortunate to have friends who have given me beyond deals on books, and their number one answer is because I know you're not going to flip it. It's for your PC.
Yeah. And if it not now times, like if I'm upgrading, I'm flipping. Like if my buddy that gave me that beautiful Web of Mystery, if all of a sudden a 9.0 pops up, I'm buying that one and I'm flipping the other one. So it still happened, but I mean, it's funny that
It makes,
early on, it used to hurt my feeling. Like, oh my god, I gave you such a great.
but
Yeah, like
that's what I do. If I sell one of these books, I'm going to use
Yeah,
that income from this book to buy
sure,
the same book in a
yeah,
higher grade.
that's
That-
all
yeah,
it
like
is. Yeah,
I know someone else collecting the Senate books, and I pointed him to one that I already had, and I saw it on the website. Same thing. I found that one for $10. I saw another one for $20, and I said, "Go there. It's right there for
yeah,
$20 if you need it."
go get it.
And
Yeah,
I could have bought that myself, right, and flipped it for $300, $400, $500. But to me, that goodwill or whatever you want to call it, that karma is worth way more than that $300, $400. Because if he finds something later on, guess what? He will
yeah,
probably point me in that direction.
yep.
And
I
honestly,
mean,
I'm happy for someone to grab that.
me
So
too. Yeah,
You know,
I mean,
yeah.
just last week, I've had this one book on my wall for a little while, and it's Clue number 2, and it's just a really cool torture cover where a guy's burning with an iron onto the backs of other guys. And it's a book that I was really proud to get. It turns out it's a guy north of me in Florida, and he actually sold to me at a very reasonable price, $850 on a book that's a $1,500-$1,600 book. And I had it, and I've loved it. I've really kept it on my shelf. Now, I will sometimes put a higher price tag on something that I truly don't want to sell. It's called the pry it from me
price not to
price.
sell. Yeah.
It's not because I'm trying to gouge. I'm just trying to keep it in my head. That's how I do it. And he was watching the show a couple weeks ago, and he said, "You know what? boy, I really want to buy back the that book. I really regret. You know, I'm happy you have it, but it's one of those things that I regretted selling because I loved it so much. And I said, oh, listen, I got to make money on it. Okay. So you sold to me for $850. I'm going to sell it back to you for $851.
There you go.
Plus shipping. And he's like, oh my God, thank you. I really just wanted it back on my wall. And I bought back my own books that I've sold because I'm like,
yes.
God, I really missed that.
Because I'm pretty sure that happens a lot. Let's be honest. A lot of
yeah.
that. You're in the moment. You're in the heat. You sell it. You ship it off, and the minute you drop it off, you're like, "Fuck! I shouldn't have done that." I think everybody has that regret, that instant regret of, now I got to go find another one, but it's going to be in a higher grade.
That's
Right.
right. Like
You
my
have
biggest
that
recent
mentality.
regret. My biggest recent. I don't want to call it a regret. I don't regret it, but I've had the amazing stories. The first appearance of Buck Rogers on my wall. I've been so proud to have it, and then I got a very solid offer on it from a great guy. I'm like, all right, sold. That's what I do. That's what I do as a seller, right? But it's one where I'm like, oh, I really liked looking at that. It was so nice.
Jason sold me this one at cost. I mean,
That's
he gave
right.
it to me for the same price he got it, just because I missed it. We were looking at the same book, and he got it first.
Yeah. And I wanted, I'm like, shit.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
it's a great book. I wanted you to
Right.
have it.
He could have gouged me on it, but
I could have, but I wouldn't.
yeah.
There's only one person I gouge on books, and that's Jason.
Yeah, I was gonna say that makes perfect sense.
Because he deserves it.
Yeah, that makes, and I'm okay with it. I approve that message 100%. All right, guys. So we're at the end of the show, and I'm going to give you guys the opportunity to promote your guys' IG and of course your shows. But let's go with Pete, because Pete doesn't really promote anything but himself.
Yeah, just
So
me.
just Pete. I call him Pete, but his name is Matt. But he
Yeah.
goes. Go ahead and tell people where they can find you on Instagram so they can follow your dumbass.
It's it's Pete Park 616.
Yeah,
I just kind of promote myself. I don't really sell. In fact, every time I do sell a PC book, it's like a child, being given away. So I hate it. I have to do it every now and then for bills. But yeah, if you want to check out my my Senate book journey, I'm gonna actually post one tonight because I just got the new one in right before this show. So
awesome.
Yeah.
All right, sounds good.
And
All right.
I want to, while we have Pete on the main screen there, put Pete back there. Put Pete back. He's one of my favorite customers. He is the best sport of all. He's on our show every time. Every show, we bring him his video feed on for the sole purpose that we can have a beer with him. Or drink or spin the roulette wheel and have a great time. So I'm really glad. And Matt, it was actually a total surprise that you were here. I did not know you were coming.
No, I didn't tell him.
It was a surprise for both of you guys.
And it's always fun. It's always fun.
How about you, Jason? So where can we find you? And
all right, so I am Crime City Comics on Instagram, or Crime City Comics 1. But if you'll know my logo. The other Crime City Comics is some German comedian group that shows up there. And I love talking about comics. You do not need to want to buy something to contact me. If you just want to chat about comics, pre-code, crime, sci-fi, pulps, whatever. I love doing it. I love making friends in the community. But so everything I've got, for the most part, if you want it, we can talk about it. But on Saturday nights, Code Blue and I will get together and have, I don't want to call it a selling show because we do sell, but it's really a night of fun, a marathon where we will give away books, and they're all great pre-code books. We will
give away books,
educate. Right? We will auction. We will have action figures, dance, and just have a great time. And anybody who's watched our show will attest to that. I don't know if we're the best show on the air, but we have the best time. So
I like to call it as, it's not so much a selling show, it's a show. It's more of a community show. Really. It's for a bunch of people to hang out in living rooms and just chew the shit and maybe buy some books here and there. All right, James, what about you, pal?
Well, first of all, cheers. This is an official Code Blue shot glass.
Oh, you got it. How did that appear there now?
I found it in the suitcase.
Yeah,
hold on. Let me go grab. I can't let you guys drink, but
I had a guy that sent me a DM today. He said, "Dude, thank you so much for including the Code Blue shot glass. I feel like part of the crew." He said, "I'm looking for a special place to put the shot glass, but for now, I'm putting it in one of my display cases." So he sends me a picture of a display case. There's a Code Blue shot glass, and next to it is a Punch 11, the Venus. I mean, there's literally $500,000 worth of 6 comic books. 6. $500,000, and there's a Code Blue shot.
Right.
Who knew?
I said that sucker's a good company.
Is this the new one?
Yes, it is. Yep.
Yeah. I had to steal this. You weren't
That's
freely
a
giving this away.
No, so here's what Jason did. He says, "I'm taking." He looks at me. His hands are in the box. "I'm taking one of these."
I felt entitled.
And I said, "Well,
is that the show?"
At your place, at the Airbnb.
At your place. He says, "I'm taking one of these." And I said to him, "Well, first of all, no, you're not. But I will if you know, if you're not a dick about it, I'll give you one. Just ask. I'd be happy to give you a shot glass. I may even give you 2." He's like, "Oh, okay. I'll can I have one?" Yeah.
I took 2.
So,
But you don't go into somebody's box of chocolates. "I'm taking this."
that's funny.
It was so cool. I had to steal this.
I got to take a picture of for you, James, where I hold my stuff. So where can people find you and all that good stuff?
So it's all one word, no dots, no spaces, no underscore. Code Blue Comics, and there's only one Code Blue Comics. But I got lucky on that, and I copyrighted it and trademarked it. So there's Code Blue Comics, and that's it. We do the show. Jason and I do the show together, and have done that since the very first show. When I went to pick up some books from him that I bought a bunch of EC books, and I said, "Hey, I heard you're doing a live show. You mind if I join you?" And we sold a shit ton of books that night and had a lot of fun.
And we've never stopped.
It's going on for like the last two years or so.
2 years, and we almost every week.
We kind of fight like a married couple on the show, but half the charm.
Like a married couple. That is true.
He deserves a good scolding occasionally. He takes it like a champ, but he's not defensive, which is very nice. I don't know that I would be as understanding, but he is. I have now I'm doing the remote shows from the Marsh Harbor, Bahamas, in Abaco, and that's worked out well, and that's where I'm at right now, and the Wi-Fi is working great, which is nice because
Abby,
I always hoped that would be it.
Abby, our shows are generally they're Saturday nights. The starting time varies. Sometimes it's early as 7. Lately, we've been kind of settling around kind of 9 o'clock, just so we can have our day.
Also, the West Coast guys, if we start, at 9 o'clock East Coast,
great for me. Yeah.
That's perfect, right? I mean, that's what I was always thinking. 9:30 works out, so we have everybody.
Shit, I was on at 2 a.m. after watching the Cobra Kai marathon, and there's like 5 live shows. Then you don't know. I didn't know what we were missing.
Yep.
Wi-Fi guys, that's where it's at.
Let's do this. So before I sign off and do my thing, once again, I want to just congratulate ourselves. So we hit 90,000 followers on the Facebook page.
Wow.
We have a total of 42 million views.
Wow.
And 5 million in the engagement. And that's a big accomplishment. A lot of that goes out to my partner, Dell, for putting out the content on the page. People love going on there and nerding out and stuff like that. So it's very big. And I just found out because when I was at MegaCon, gentlemen, I was at the booth talking to ticket people, and I'm like, so wait a minute, I could have actually applied for like a media pass and got it free. They're like, yeah. I go, well, how many followers do you have on your Facebook? I go, at the time, 86. They're like, yo, yeah, you definitely would have got in. And I was like, oh, shit, that's good to know. Use my clout to get in for free.
So you
But
get a media
you
pass for
earned
the
it.
number of followers on Instagram
Yeah.
or Facebook or whatever.
yeah, if you
Wonder
have
what the
followers.
threshold is.
You got to have a pretty big following on Facebook for them to go, hey, you got enough followers because you're going
That apply to Instagram as well?
Yeah, if you have enough followers, sure. Something to think about. All right, guys. So you guys know where to find me on the Instagrams. I'm not there as much. I'm not as active now that I'm working. It's kind of funny. I was playing around with James. I told him that this whole job thing is getting in the way of my comic hobby.
It really
It's
does.
beyond.
Doesn't it?
Overrated.
I mean, I wanted to like I have to wait till I get home to like post my figures and slabs, reels and all that stuff, but I still do promotions for my voiceovers. So if you need a voice to do a promo video, I'm your man.
Oh, geez.
So at any given time, it works. It doesn't work in the bedroom, James. Just to let you know, it doesn't do a damn thing.
So you've tried it and it's not working for you?
Let me take off the covers.
It's not working for you?
No, and she's like, "Shut up." Okay, but anyways, what a fun show! I love having these guys on. They're going to be on again. I know that the old the nursing home always gets a kick because you guys always show books. I mean, earlier Jason showed a book, and someone said, "I still have that exact same book."
Oh, that's
and it's
awesome.
like, how cool is that? And I love that about this community, that it never, no pun intended, it never gets old. And here we are talking about books from the 1930s and 40s and 50s, and we're still talking about it as if it just came out last week.
The books get old, but the community doesn't.
That's
make sure you guys go. If you do want to see these, though, make sure you go to the Co-Blues page because he has his photo up and he has his collection up. So if you're interested in what those 24 books are,
he's the only one. He's the only one that could sell those. He's the only one that could post those. He's the only guy since he bought the rights to those things.
Sorry, Jason.
He's talking about the picture.
He's talking
the picture. He owns the rights to that.
He owns the rights to that. Yeah.
When
if you see anyone else doing that,
what they're talking about,
you can also everybody in the world.
Man, when I bought those rights, they were very specific and very strict about what that meant.
Yeah, it's were they Getty or what it was?
Yeah, that one was from Getty, and they were the stuff that I had to sign from them for those two photos was unique.
Yeah, you don't want them coming to your door.
No, they'll come in and they'll Getty you up.
Get your ass right up.
They'll get your ass out the window. Once again, these guys are fantastic. We're going to have them on again, maybe later on this year. You never know because there's always something fun. It doesn't have to be annual. That's right, because it's always fun. Maybe we'll bring on somebody else who's part of the buying community when it comes to PCH. Matt was so good to jump on and stay longer than I thought he was going to. This was fun. We can talk for hours. If you ever watch their shows on Saturdays, I'm not kidding. I'm in Mountain Time. These sons of bitches go on to about 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, their time. So it's a thing.
Yeah, typically
it's a thing.
And we're drinking for a marathon. Before we go, Caesar, I got to tell you, it was such a delight to finally in person in Orlando that we got to get together. We've been trying for over a year. We all know there was a little bit of a delay, but I'm so glad that we all had such a blast and got together this time.
God,
yeah, it worked out really well.
For you, Matt.
It was so nice. James was very good enough to made me an espresso martini. It was It was basically dessert in a glass. You know, Jason was there. Like I said, Jason, the Rogaine it's not helping. Just to let you know. Even
Also,
in
Jason,
person,
take
that's not.
note when Caesar. I took the time to make my signature espresso martini. That's
That one?
evolved over multiple years, and I don't know if you noticed, but he drank it and finished it while it was still cold.
Ooh.
And if you ever watch Jason, I rarely make him a drink, but if I do, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to
I'll
talk
never live that down.
about it. I
But
don't
to
want
be
to talk
fair,
about
it was a couple-hour drive home, and it was late.
What you
he's
didn't
still
fin-
making, wait a minute, he's still making excuses.
he didn't wait. So he didn't finish the drink you made him?
This happened twice. So first of all, I made him the best Irish coffee you'll ever have in
It
your
was
life.
absolutely delicious.
No, I mean the best Irish coffee you will ever have in your life with
But it wasn't weak.
ingredients from Ireland and from bartenders at the Adair Manor, which is the rated #1 hotel in the world 2 years in a row. Their bartender gave me his secrets on how to make the best Irish coffee. It is, and I made two of them. Made him one, and he didn't finish it.
That's
And
blasphemy, Jason.
there were like 4 or 5 people that said he broke the man code. A man makes you a drink,
I
you
broke
finish.
the man code.
A man makes you a drink, you finish that fucking drink.
Jason, you could at least pretended and put it in tell
I
them,
could've
hey,
put
look
it
at
in a
that.
plant.
There goes
Plant
LB
somewhere.
Cole, and there goes LB Cole, and then you dump it into the plant or something like that.
Oof.
Something.
That's right.
Yeah.
I just saw Schomburg walking down the street there.
Yeah.
What a jerk. All right, guys. Once again, see you next week. We'll have, I don't know, lately, since Dale hasn't been helping me out because he's been busy, I've been kind of putting stuff and finding things to do and getting artists and guests. And this one came to me when I was in Orlando. I said, we're going to have you guys on. So once again, gentlemen, all 3 of you, thank you so much for being part of the show. And